When people say health food is boring, it really doesn't have to be. Instead, it can be exciting, tropical, exotic, and colourful. Today we're making scallops with avocado padron cream. An absolute showstopper of a dish, easy on the macros and easy on the eye. First off, we're going to pickle some onions and prepare our garnishes. Then we're going to make a delicious fruity and fresh mango salsa, our light, spicy avocado padron cream, the seared scallops, and then we'll put it all together. So let's dive in. Okay, so we need to start the party with some pickled onions. We're going to need two types of pickled onions, red onions and white onions. So first off, we need to grab a couple of red onions, chop the tops off and peel the skins off. Once we've done that, you can whip out your trusty mandolin. If you don't have one of these, that's fine. You can just thinly slice them. But to truly get them wafer thin, which is really nice, as we'll be using this for a garnish, it's preferable to use one. Put these to the side and we move on to the white onion. Slice in half, and this time we are going to cut through the onion. We don't need it to be so delicate and thin because this is going into our sauce. So roughly chop up this onion and then just whack it in a bowl and place to the side. Next, get yourself some fresh limes, and you just want to roll these out a bit, which is going to release the juice a bit easier. Slice in half and rinse and repeat until you've got 6 limes ready to juice. Then you want to just basically split the juice evenly between these two bowls. So the easiest way to do this is grab one half, squeeze into the red onion bowl, grab another half and squeeze into the white onion bowl, and rinse and repeat until you've gone through all of the lime halves. Next, you want to add a heaped teaspoon of salt. I'm using Himalayan salt here, and yes, it may look like a ton of salt, but trust me, these pickled onions take a ton of salt, so don't worry, it's not going to come out super salty. Next, you just want to mix these up with your fingers to make sure the lime juice and salt is fully incorporated through the onions. Once you've done that, just set them to the side. Okay, so now that the onions are out of the way, we move on to our mango salsa. Get yourself a lovely, ripe, fresh mango. Chop the tops and bottoms off, and then you basically just want to run your blade outside the skin of the mango. What you're trying to do here is just remove the skin and keep as much of the flesh intact as possible. Next, with the mangoes still stood upright, you want to run your blade around either side of the core. Make sure you're trimming around the mango as well, just to get these little bits here. And then the core is yours to enjoy. So take those big chunks of mango, lay it down on the chopping board, and you just want to slice it horizontally. Then from here, you want to cut it up into sort of long, thin slices, and then a finer chop to give you these tiny little mango cubes. Make sure not to leave these little guys either, nothing get wasted, whack it all in. Next, get yourself a bunch of fresh and washed coriander, and you basically just want to take the stalks and mince them as fine as you can. Really try and get these as wafer thin as possible because it will really add a nice level of finesse to the salsa. You'll be left with the leaves of the coriander, so set this aside for later as we'll use it in our sauce. Add these to the mango, stir this up, and then just set this aside in the fridge. Moving on to our delicious avocado and padron pepper cream. First thing you want to do is get your blender out and then add those pickled white onions that you made at the start. Then you're bringing the coriander leaves back into the fold, so roughly chop these up and add them too. Next, you just want to get yourself a packet of padron peppers, and using a smaller knife, you just want to strip the flesh off the peppers, leaving the seeds. You can see here how I'm just lying the pepper down sideways and slicing it so the flesh is easier to remove. Run through the lot and add all of these to the blender. Next, get yourself a nice ripe avocado. Slice it down the middle, twisting as you go. Remove the pip, slice in half, and then remove the outer skin and add this all to the blender. This is going to give the sauce a lovely, rich, creamy texture, and we're starting to build some super fresh flavors here. Back to the limes, roll out a couple more, squeeze them in, and then you're going to add about 5 tablespoons of light mayonnaise, 2.5 tablespoons of runny honey, and then a chili to taste. This is one from my garden, but you can really use any you like. If you can get your hands on any nice green ones, whether large or small, go for that. Another very heaped spoon of salt, and then you can razz this up to blend. The sauce should be perfectly balanced, salty, fresh, sweet, spicy, sour, and then rounded out and deliciously creamy as well. But just to make sure, at this point, have a taste. You can see I'm deep in thought, but ultimately this is pretty perfect where it is. Once you've got the flavors locked down, and this is an optional step, I want you to add a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Now, this is just a high-level chef's hack, and essentially what this is going to do is change the texture and viscosity of the sauce, which in my opinion levels it up as it gives it a nice professional looking glossy sheen. Now we're done with the sauce, so simply decant and set aside in the fridge. As you can see, there's a bit left over, so I'll keep this in the fridge and have it over the next few days with any nice fish or meat. Next, on to the main event, the scallops. So first, before we move on to preparing and frying our scallops, get your pickled red onion from earlier on, and you just want to squeeze it in between 2 pieces of kitchen towel to remove all the liquid. And here we go, a plate of lovely fresh queen scallops. So as you can see here, you've got the main scallop itself, and then you've got the roe attached to it. You just want to remove the roe. Don't worry, we're not going to waste it. You can fry this up with some onions and whack it on some toast. It will be delicious. But for this recipe, you do want to remove it, and you also want to get rid of this little bit here. Once you've done that, set aside your scallops, and we're going to toast some pink peppercorns. So put these in a hot, dry pan, no oil, and we're just going to toast them for about 2 minutes on high. Once done, just pop these out into a pestle and mortar. Grind these up and set them to the side so we can sprinkle them on the scallops later. Next, pan back on the heat. Again, we want it on high. I've got some olive oil in here, and as soon as the oil's heated up, you can put your scallops in. Once in the pan, a sprinkle of salt and then your pink peppercorns. And this is going to give the scallops, which are a pretty neutral tasting seafood, a lovely pop of fruit and spice. So something that's super important, make sure that they're all very evenly spaced out. You don't want the pan to be crowded at all. And when frying these scallops, it's a super simple rule. 2 minutes on one side, flip them over, and 2 minutes on the other side. Don't overdo them, nothing worse than a rubbery overdone scallop. Next, the fun part, the final plating. So get your avocado gazpacho cream and pour it into a dish. Or you can pour it into a plate, but something ideally with some slightly high edges. Again, doesn't need to be as high as this dish I've got here, but at least 1 centimeter or so just to hold the body of that sauce. Then place your scallops down nice and evenly. You can see here I'm now moving on to some fresh nasturtium as a garnish that I got from my garden. But you can sub these out very easily for fresh mint leaves or fresh coriander leaves. Next, get your mango salsa and apply carefully and delicately to the top of the scallops. Now onto that drained and pressed pickled pink onion. You can see here what I'm doing is taking my tweezers, taking some of the pink onion, putting it onto a plate and twisting it just like you twist up some spaghetti for plating. Essentially, all this is going to do is contain and control the red onion a bit better, so you can pop it right on top of that mango salsa. Feel free to decorate the plate a bit more with some edible flowers if you can get your hands on them. And from here, the dish is done. What a stunning plate of food. Super light, and you've got such a fresh balance here of beautiful summer flavors. Make sure to sub to the channel for more recipes like this, and look forward to seeing you for the next one.